This is not easy, but I'm glad to be here, because I really don't understand fully the expectations of this, but I will give you a kind of background anyway. Short one, yes. I mean, I have been here in Kosovo for about 3.5 years now, and I will stay for another 2 years till August 2014, and I have a kind of special task when I'm down here. The task is twofold. One, that is to build up the audit institution. And the audit institution should be an audit institution that is sustainable, that is owned by the Kosovars themselves, and shall carry out its business in accordance with what we call international recognized auditing standards and good European practices. But that's one task. That's the easiest. The other part of the task, that is then to contribute to beefing up what we call good governance in Kosovo. And that means that this job is very much outreach, so to say. That's why it's important for me to be here today then. Because you must, when you're doing this, unite with lots of resources around you, not only in the public sector, but also in the private, amongst NGOs, etc., etc. Two things: transforming the office and transforming the governance in Kosovo into a kind of possibility for us to getting nearer and closer to the European Union. That's the task. That means that when I'm doing this, I now and then collide with present ways of doing things, present way of regulating things in Kosovo, but that's a part of my job, so to say, part of my mission. So, the issue was to talk about 5 problems, but I will not start with that. I will instead start to talk about something that I think is good, because I think we have a general problem in Kosovo that we too seldom talk about what is good, and very often just talking about what is bad or the problems we have. So if I compare today with when I entered into my post as an Auditor General back in the beginning of 2009, have I seen any progress? Yes, I think so. Definitely, I have done that. And the biggest problems that we, biggest progress that we see, and what we also state in our both individual reports sometimes, but in our annual audit report, that is that we have achieved something here in Kosovo that they haven't achieved in the United States. We have, given the requirements there are, a report from the government where the information quality of the financial aspects, in fact, in all major respects, are true and fair. This is not the case in the United States, but it's here. We shall, of course, remember that it's much more problematic, because the rules for how they shall report and the accounting rules are different in the United States. So, we see very much progress in this, and that's very good. It's good for the politicians taking decisions, it's good for the people, it's good for our partners. And that's why the government, when it comes to the quality of the information, in fact, in our reports get an unqualified audit report. This doesn't mean that the quality of the information cannot become better. Of course it can. And we are also proposing both the government and the assembly, when they do new annual financial statements for the whole Kosovo budget in the future, that they will develop some issues around this that we find of tremendous importance, being able then to make priorities for the budget in a better way. Amongst these things that are very important is, of course, that the debts, the bad tax debts that today we have in the report and in the budget of Kosovo, that they are written off because they will never be getting back. We can never calculate that we get the bad debts back to the state budget. It's also that bad and doubtful debts that are related to public enterprises are a big chunk of them. It's 1/3 of them, in fact, that are related to public enterprises or socially owned enterprises. And these are very, very doubtful if we ever can collect. There is no money to count on when it comes to planning what we can do with public money. We have also a big thing that are embedded in the report from the government. And that is, in fact, that they think that they're going to get back 180 million from KEK. That is the debt of KEK to the state. What shall we do with that? Is there anyone here who thinks that we will get the money back to the state? Well, I don't. At least not the 180. We also, and that's rather odd, we in fact have lots of assets in Kosovo, in the public sector. And these assets, they are in general used still, many of them. But they are depreciated, they are of non-value, even if we are using them. And that means as soon as an asset is of non-value, the interest of the ones that are using them is, of course, to buy new things instead of the ones that already is in practice and is working. And this is very odd, in fact. So we want to, if we want to have a kind of true and fair view on how much we own together, it's important for us that all the assets that we have and use are re-evaluated as a good that we can use. We also have a big problem in the latest annual financial statement, and that is about the liabilities that is growing all the time due to 11 was a special year, of course, very short for carrying it out, but in general, we have institutions in Kosovo that in fact have liabilities that are as big as their budget for the next coming year. That means that it's impossible to make any priorities when it comes to setting up the objectives for a new year. And we also have small things that the way that we are paying for services to the central government, to other institutions in Kosovo, like the central bank, is not always fair, because we are paying much more than in fact we get from them. But these are some issues that don't have an impact on the totality, but they are important to do something about. But the big problem is something else. The big problem is financial management, how we are handling and manage the finances we have. And as all of you know, we have a kind of general intention in Kosovo that we shall adopt a kind of Northern European way of managing the budget here in Kosovo. And the government and the parliament have taken lots of decisions in laws and in instructions and handbooks, etc., on how this should be done. And it looks very nice on paper. It looks beautiful. But how does it work in practice? Is this implemented as it should? Do we in fact carry out the budget as expected? In our view and in our report for this year, we are, of course, have noticed a number of shortcomings. That's the way we express it as auditors, but that means much more, in fact. You never know. There's always a wording thing. In general then, we think that not having a good financial management in Kosovo leads to losses for the taxpayers. And these losses for the taxpayers, they are tremendously big, in fact. We are lacking a kind of focus